Yo, everybody, welcome to the special impromptu episode of, I guess, the Outlaw Nation spoiler review for the Many Saints of Newark, this film that came out in theaters and on HBO Max over the weekend, a prequel to The Sopranos. And I had to find somebody who is just as big of a Sopranos fan as I am, and I'm more than happy to welcome him to this review. Jeff Sneider, how are you, Jeff?
I'm okay. Forget about it.
Forget about it. You're a critic. You're a big TV. You watch a lot of TV.
I do watch a lot of TV. I don't get the credit for watching as much TV as I do. It's because I don't watch the big shows, Rocha.
Yeah, I know. You try to find the little gems in the pile, and I've seen your tweets about certain shows over the years, man. I've always been like, well, if Jeff likes it, I got to give it a second look and see if it's any good. And I appreciate you guiding me through that or guiding everybody who reads your tweets through that, but for sure. But this is a film that was a prequel based on one of the most influential shows. What a lot of people argue between this and The Wire or Breaking Bad as one of the greatest shows ever. Before we get into the movie, overall, Jeff, what is your feeling about The Sopranos as a series, and what was its effect on your life, both as a fan and as a critic?
I mean, as a fan and as a critic, I mean, I don't know that I was like even a critic, like, or a reporter, right, like by the time that The Sopranos wrapped up its run, but it's the greatest television show of all time. I think you named the top three. I mean, and I know dramas are tough to compare to sitcoms. I mean,
right,
Seinfeld is one of the greatest shows ever. But yeah, to me, it goes Sopranos, The Wire, Breaking Bad, 1, 2, 3, right there. No, like, not up for discussion. So The Sopranos, I mean, it meant a lot. Like I would get together no matter where I was, whether I was in college or I guess it started when I was in high school, I think, and then even out to LA. Like it was a show that sort of followed me through all those facets.
Right.
Wherever I was on Sunday night, I was going to watch it. It's brilliant, and that's why I was so let down by the Many Saints of Newark.
Yeah, I saw your tweet, and we're going to get into it for sure. And, ladies and gentlemen, we are live right now. And so any Streamlabs or Super Chats that you want to send in as we go along, any questions, thoughts, comments that you had about the movie as we go along, please feel free to send them in as we go along. And certainly later on in the show, we're going to get Jeff's unfiltered takes about Tom Brady returning to New England as well. So this is a New York to Boston, New Jersey to New York to Boston type show. So we're going to have a little fun talking about it as well. But first, let's get a synopsis real quick on Many Saints of Newark. Let me read it to you.
Before you do, where did you fall? Where did you fall? Is it your favorite show of all time?
It is. I would have to say it is my favorite show of all time. Yes. Okay. I mean, when it comes to dramas, right? Like you said, can't compare comedies, that's something else. But this film, I mean, even watching, I rewatched seasons 5 and 6 last week on HBO Max as I was doing stuff around the house, as I was working on things, working out, or, getting ready for shows or whatever here on the network. I was absolutely doing that and getting back into the mood of it. It was driving my girlfriend crazy because she's like, when you watch that show, you assume his voice, you start doing his actions, and it's all instinctive. Like there was just something about Tony Soprano that I 100% connected to, and his journey and the confusing, frustrating, exciting, exhilarating, nutty, upsetting shit that he did through his whole time. Just when you started to like him, he did something that challenged your feelings about liking him. And just when you were ready to hate him, he did something that challenged your feelings about hating him. And for that, the show deserves so much credit and what it was able to do in fleshing out this world of his and what have you. So to me, it's still one of the greatest shows ever. I wish they'd issue a cut that removes every scene with Meadow and AJ, but aside from that, this is what I gotta have when I go forward. But yeah, I love it. It was appointment of watching television before I even knew you could do reviews on YouTube. We just call each other, my friends and I, right after the episode, just have conversations, and then later, of course, text exhaustively about the episodes for sure.
That's what the water cooler was on Monday morning. I remember going to the variety office and talking about the finale or whatever, and it was like that can't be duplicated anymore because not everyone is watching the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, there's so much, right? So it's tough to keep up and be on top of it as much as you would like to, even though you know you want to. It's just tough to do in this day and age for sure. Listen, let's get into the synopsis real quick. We are doing a spoiler review here. Young Anthony Soprano is growing up in one of the most tumultuous eras in New York, New Jersey history, becoming a man just as rival gangsters start to rise up and challenge the all-powerful DiMeo crime family. Caught up in the changing times is the uncle he idolizes, Dickie Moltisanti, whose influence over his nephew will help shape the impressionable teenager into the all-powerful mob boss, Tony Soprano. You know, Jeff, the way we were pitched this, and even the synopsis, the official synopsis, it says this is the birth of Tony Soprano. Not let's get to know Christopher's father. This is the birth of Tony Soprano. The poster even said the birth of Tony Soprano. And so to see this not necessarily be the birth of Tony Soprano, this is more of a fumbled C-section of Tony Soprano. What were you incredibly let down by what we saw here in this movie?
I knew what to expect. I wasn't necessarily expecting the Tony Soprano movie origin story or whatever, but I was hoping for something that would lend more insight into why he chose a life of crime. Okay. And really the movie gives you a bunch of reasons for why Anthony would not have chosen a life of crime.
Yeah.
Like, it really makes no sense. And even with that synopsis, as soon as it started with Anthony Soprano, I'm like, but the movie's not even about Anthony Soprano. It's a bait and switch synopsis.
Yeah. This is what was so frustrating, I think, as I was watching the movie. I was like, wait a minute. I'm loving what Alessandro Nivola is doing. First of all, I didn't know this guy had this gear in him. I'd seen it in other things, certainly in other films, other TV shows, what have you. But I never knew he had this kind of gear. I thought you didn't like him in the movie. I thought he was
fine.
good.
I thought he's always fine. He's always good. He's a good actor.
Gotcha.
Okay. Like, people were talking about an Oscar nomination for this. I bet anyone my entire life savings, he's not going to sniff an Oscar nomination for this. Are you crazy? I didn't think he was anything special.
Really? Oh, no. I enjoyed him in the show very much. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I thought he did a damn good job, but this is directed by Alan Taylor, Jeff, who had done a number of the seminal episodes of The Sopranos. David Chase is bringing us this film, and I would say I agree with you. Overall, I felt a bit of a bait and switch, but I felt overall like this was not The Sopranos. It almost felt like I was watching the Entourage movie. It felt like this came out too late. Like we had moved on. It's been 14 years since The Sopranos, and we get a prequel film that feels like it's out of step with what we wanted. It removed the artistry of those seasons and gave us fan service, if I dare use a term that a lot of people denigrate nowadays, but it felt like fan service. And then in the end, it was such a flaccid ending that the best part of the movie might have been hearing the opening theme song from the film, from the show rather, as a way to end the film. And I thought that was very frustrating for me to watch this because I enjoyed Nivola. I enjoyed the Dickie Moltisanti storyline. But why do we have Ray Liotta twice in this movie? Why do we have Michael Gandolfini? Although he did a good job as Tony, he wasn't even the most interesting of the Tonys. I thought the kid Tony was a better Tony than Michael Gandolfini as Tony's. Right. And then in the end, you find out why Dickie Moltisanti got killed, and it's Junior being pathetic. I was just so frustrated by this on so many levels, and it felt like David Chase. It felt like, when you watch an older comic start to do their bits from the past, and you're just like, it doesn't have that same kind of sharpness or bite. What do you think? What do you think was missing from the movie, or what do you think really kind of stopped the movie from being something that mirrored the incredible achievement that was the Sopranos TV show?
Because I don't know, what was the purpose of the movie? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, what story, from a storytelling perspective, none of these questions that this movie supposedly answered were questions that I was asking. I just don't feel like it was an essential part of the Sopranos story to get Dickie Moltisanti's friggin' backstory. It just felt like such a cash grab. Like, the fact that it was a movie at all, the beauty of the Sopranos was getting to know those characters and that family over the course of 6 seasons. Okay. It wasn't condensed into 2 hours. And this gave you a whole new family to try to care about in 2 hours. And it's like, I didn't like none of the deaths. I didn't feel anything for any of them at all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's just bad writing. I mean, David Chase tried to do way too much here, with all the race riots and stuff.
Yes,
Newark and that Leslie Odom's character. I thought that was terribly integrated into everything.
Yeah.
It just felt like he was trying to address the criticisms of The Sopranos for like sidelining black characters, but like,
Right.
so now we're doing a prequel and now there are black characters. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Right. I agree with you too, because I mean, the thing is, we're in a post Black Lives Matter world. If you're going to introduce race riots into your film and make it a big part of the film and make your character that Leslie Odom Jr. does so well, Harold, be involved and find his power and find his voice because of what happened and what the police were doing to black young men and women, or black men and women, period, in that community at that time, then you've got a responsibility to show more than just black people rioting and black people looting. You've got to show much more than that. You've got to show the symptoms, why it happened, what was going on, and a random scene where they attack a taxi driver, a couple cops, or trick a taxi driver to go in the wrong direction. That is not going to fucking do it. That is irresponsible as hell.
So rushed.
And I saw critics saying it was a powerful film. If you're a white critic and you're watching a black storyline here that doesn't get fleshed out, you cannot call this film powerful, because it isn't. And that's so frustrating. You have to have a responsibility to analyze the film and what it's presenting and what it's showing. And there was nothing new here, Jeff. Oh, look, they hate black people. What a surprise. Saw that all through The Sopranos. Oh, look, they treat their women like shit. What a surprise. Oh, look, somebody gets jealous because she slept. An Italian guy gets jealous because his mistress, who was his stepmom, slept with a black guy and she killed her.
Bizarre, thing. Why did David Chase decide to sit down and write this movie? About fucking your stepmom. It was just, just like, what? Dude, the guy, he nailed it. He nailed it with The Sopranos. Then he directed that other movie. What the hell was it called? Don't Look
Larry
Back.
David. Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever you want, or whatever I want, something like that.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was that, but it was a mess. Whatever it was a mess. Some people should be making television, and some people should be making movies. And David Chase, hate to say it, is someone who should be making television. He's not a movie person at all. Doesn't have the type of mind that can fit into a 2-hour storytelling structure.
Yeah. Not Fade Away. That's the one.
Weiner. Neither does Noah Hawley. Look at all these big TV people. They can't direct movies.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, he hadn't done anything since Not Fade Away. Not Fade Away wasn't received that well, wasn't reviewed that well at all, and felt like a little bit. And so maybe that's what it was. I mean, having Alan Taylor, who is a TV director for the most part, coming in and having David Chase here, you think you've got the right combination of people to present this story. But this felt like, and I said this maybe in my tweet or in my follow-up tweet, this felt like an extended episode from later in the series. That's what it felt like to me.
And not even like a good episode. It felt like discarded B subplots. This would be the B plot to an episode, and then they just took 2 B plots and made them a movie. Right.
Now, but let's focus on if we can find any kind of positives in this. Did you like Vera Farmiga essentially playing Olivia Nancy Marchand's interpretation? Was she able? I felt like she did a really good job of being able to mirror the patterns of Nancy Marchand, but make them her own as an actress. Did you like that?
Listen, these are good actors. Vera Farmiga, Corey Stoll, Jon Bernthal, even Ray Liotta. These are good actors, but no, I didn't. I wasn't impressed by a single performance. Now there were moments that I was impressed where I was like, oh my God, that is a Polly Walnuts look, or that is a Junior Soprano look, and they nailed it. Right? Like that moment, it really brings you back and it makes you remember what a great show The Sopranos was.
Yeah.
But it's like an SNL sketch. These are impersonations that fire for a quick second. At no point did Vera Farmiga look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. At no point do I think she was half as horrible as Tony's mom was on the show.
Yeah, Nancy Marchand. Yeah.
Yeah, I just maybe the point. But by the way, my entire family.
Yeah.
You should have watched this movie with a room full of Jews, John. It's just like. So that's Tony's mother's cousin's grandmother. Like who? What? I had to be like, that's not Carmela. That is Tony's mother. And it's like, but is that a statement in and of itself that basically Tony ended up marrying his mother?
Yeah. Yes. Because it mirrored Carmela's constant fumbling of trying to connect with Meadow and AJ, it was very similar to what we saw Olivia do, or Vera Farmiga's interpretation of Olivia do at the dinner table with the burger scene. That's so similar to what you saw in the series. So yeah, in essence, he kind of did bury his mom in that way. And you know, I thought there were moments of tragedy, moments of like frustration in the film that I thought were worth it to watch. Certainly Tony trying to get as close to his mom with the antidepressants and all of that. But I think Michael Gandolfini played him there is no sinister streak that is hiding there underneath. And for Tony, there was always that sinister streak, and that's got to be there. And him attacking an ice cream man is not the way to show that. Him attacking, him beating up his friend, the guy who becomes the cook, I forget the guy's name, but him beating up his friend there, that isn't a thing right in front of Carmela. That isn't the sinister streak. That's more of a frustrated nerd rage type thing. And him being disappointed at his dad, or at Dickie shutting him out at the end there. There wasn't that thing that you wanted to see that made you like, fuck, made you unsettled.
He was a guy who much rather would have been lying on his bedroom floor listening to records.
Yes, right? That was a believable scene. Yeah,
right. But so it's like, how does this is a kid who doesn't really want anything to do with the life, throws the speakers out the window.
Right.
So it's like it didn't show me that jump, like that leap. Yeah. Here's what I thought it did a great job of.
Go ahead, please.
What I was impressed by was the way that it pulled off Tony's persecution complex.
Yeah,
everybody's out to get him. Why me? Right. That was always Tony Soprano. It's like, I try so hard to be good, and then they make me do these things. I thought it nailed that element of Tony's personality.
Yeah.
But no, on the whole, the problem here was the script. And I liked the new character, Giuseppina.
Michela de Rossi. Yeah, she was great. Yeah,
she was good. But it was like, I wanted a fresh face. I like that, but it also felt like I don't care. Like, who is this person? Like, why is she? She's basically she is the female lead, but she's almost the main character practically.
Yeah. Because as soon as she shows up on screen, you immediately know that Dickie is going to make a move at some point on her. Then you see which is weird. Then you see the situation with him and his dad, and they're like, all of that is handed to you. Now, did they play those scenes well? Yes, where Leota playing his father, and him going at it about his mom and how he treated his mom. Yeah, there was a real kind of power to that scene. And when he takes out his anger and kills, essentially committing patricide. And then this is kind of I imagine David in his mind was like, I'm writing a Greek tragedy within this classic story, having a son, or a stepson rather, kill his actual biological father to get. Yeah, I know. I agree. It was like, and how would these guys be okay with it? I get that Dickie runs the family, but still there must be some level of like fucking uncomfortableness that he is sleeping with the woman that the former head of the family brought to the fucking country. It just seems weird on so many levels.
The lie was ridiculous. I mean, I know the twin brother would sniff it out, but so would anybody who knew Hollywood Dick. Would be like, Hollywood Dick really went down with a hammer and boards and nails to fucking do this in the middle of a ride. It's a preposterous thing.
Yeah.
Bringing Leota back to play the twin brother. Like, I've never even heard. Where were these twin brothers over the course of the show?
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I thought they did a real disservice to Jon Bernthal as well. I mean, playing Johnny Boy, this could have been a more fleshed out. Like, let's get. Yes, I know Dickie was an influence, but I'd like to see a little bit more of the father-son dynamic.
Why wasn't it the Johnny Soprano story? Why Dickie? It's just so random,
right? It's weird because you're like, well, John, he shows up and then he disappears for like the first half of the movie in jail, and then comes back, and there's no real like quintessential scene between them. There's no real father-son scene. There's nothing, the most notable scene I think is when he shoots Livia through the hair when she's wearing that thing so high, when she won't stop talking, which was a chilling, scary, unsettling moment, but still in the end, there's no kind of connection with his son that would make you believe or disconnect with his son that he would gravitate to his mom more, that he would connect to his mom more. It just didn't make sense because
Who would
Johnny
bash
seemed
their
to be
father's face in like that. That's
Yeah.
like what the psychopath does,
Right.
And maybe that's what they were trying to comment on, that he was a psychopath,
Yeah.
the way he kills his wife. But it's like,
Yeah.
I just thought this whole thing from the start was a cash grab. What did I hope from this? Because like I had to tell my family before it started. First of all, we had my niece's birthday party on Saturday.
Okay.
And I was like,
happy birthday.
Day after, and we'll do the Sopranos. People are like, what are we going to eat tonight? You want to order some Chinese? I'm like, I'm not ordering Chinese and watching the fucking Sopranos, okay? We're ordering a big Italian meal, and we're all going to watch the Sopranos. And then I had to tell people, temper your expectations. This isn't going to be a great movie. Yeah. And they're like, well, why isn't it going to be great? I go, well, first of all, it's a prequel. Prequels are never great.
True.
Right? But like all I had hoped for was like a story, a movie that stood on its own as an entertaining 2-hour thing, which some people would argue like El Camino did, the Breaking Bad movie.
Oh, yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. But this
I thought the Deadwood movie was okay as well. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I think I saw that.
Okay.
I do not like this revisit. If you do another season, then like stick to what worked, but because you can't just take a TV show and then turn it into a movie.
Yeah. I'm not as down on the film as Jeff is, but I did not come out of this film feeling like it was a good movie. It was okay. And if you're a Sopranos fan, if you're a hardcore Sopranos fan, I've said this. It's a great way to go back into the world. Or not great way, but it's a good way to go back into the world and see Satriales again, see the people, see Thomas. By the way, why is Thomas Magnuson taking these roles? I need to understand.
Billy Magnuson.
Billy Magnuson. I need to understand why Billy Magnuson is taking these roles, because he is, they were going to look at him they were spinning him off of Aladdin to basically do a lead in his own film. But here he is taking the role of Paulie Walnuts, and he's barely in the movie. He has maybe 1 or 2 moments of like showing you, but they're all caricatures. And then even, what's his face? John Magaro, who played Silvio, like the whole, it was a caricature. It was not actually lived in. And I thought this was really frustrating. And why would you waste 2 such good actors and not even give them a solo scene by themselves, man?
Those scenes in Satriales and just like in the back room, like they all just felt like like a pale imitation. I didn't feel like I was in the same room that I was with all those characters from the show.
Yeah. What's this? Pat, I agree. These 2 are being a bit emotional. All right, Patrick, we're allowed to be emotional. Also, Patrick,
they took the greatest television show of all time and turned it into a shitty HBO Max movie. Yeah, I'm allowed to be.
Yeah.
Godfather 2, great prequel. It's not a prequel. There are.
Thank you.
That's a prequel.
That's what I was just going to explain to Patrick. You want to criticize this, Patrick, you better come with some knowledge. Godfather 2 is not a prequel. It's a prequel and a sequel. It's not a prequel, bro. Get it together.
And maybe that should have been the structure for this. Is like, okay, let's see how Tony Soprano got made, and let's see what happens to Tony's family and the whole thing when he's gone. Like, set this in present day, then do the black thing. I'm sorry. None of these elements added up to a movie. Like, they just did not mesh well together.
Red, I hope you're not including us in this. I think my problem wasn't that he stood up. I loved that Harold stood. I thought it was great, but the film doesn't let him win. The film doesn't believably let him win. It's not organically correct. You think that if they all found out what had happened with Harold, and you think they wouldn't go down and kill that guy? They would. All right. So it was done in a very pedantic way. It wasn't done in a way that was fleshed out, that felt natural, that felt real and believable.
Like just Fargo season 4, which is when you have 10 hours to do that story right, and not jam it into like a half-hour subplot of a 2-hour movie.
It wasn't an empowering moment like they were hoping it would be. Yeah.
The problem with so many people reviewing this movie is that they don't understand screenwriting or story structure whatsoever. And they just say, oh, it was cool to see those guys again. I like those characters, and it was cool to see them again. And that's like the fucking extent of it. Like, what do you want me to say? Criticism's in the shitter these days, guys.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say is like, I felt like this is what the fan service I was talking about, having those characters. Once you pick them out, they didn't flesh them out. So why even have them in the story? That's the frustrating part I found about this movie. I'm like, why are Silvio? Why is Paulie Walnuts in there? Why is Junior in here? Junior goes in and out. You don't sense the Junior influence in this story at all until the end. And he makes that move. And the reason, I mean, what a stupid way to show Dickie Moltisanti die. It was because Junior was upset about being laughed at when he slipped on. Something tells me Junior did a lot of stupid shit that people laughed at, but this is the one thing. And one time, because he's having sex with the woman and he can't get it right and his back hurts, this is going to motivate him to kill a made guy, a head of the family. Like this, just the logic of it doesn't make any sense on so many levels. Junior would never do this. And if he did, it would be much more nefarious. And if you're going to make a decision like that and show it, you've got to show multiple scenes of Junior kind of working his way into feeling this way about Dickie Moltisanti. And you don't really get a sense of it at all until
anybody's power.
Yeah.
And what is the structure of this family? And just, oh my God, it was a mess, this movie, dude. Come on. Like this is written for the same audience that has people clapping and going crazy for Malignant. Yeah. Okay. For Venom 2, movies that are like ironically like it's trash, but I love it. It's awesome trash. No. It's just a bad movie, guys.
Yeah. Agreed. I think what Joseph Ashley is saying is correct. I think it should have been a limited series and strayed away from this film as a distorted memory. Yeah, I mean, I think a limited series would have worked fine. 10 episodes, 8 episodes, 6 episodes, even kind of exploring this story. Don't worry about including people in from the film, from the past. I mean, that's one of the issues that you look at the sequel trilogy with Star Wars. You did weaving in Luke and Leia and Han in a way where you really didn't let them be who they needed to be in this series to make it work. It just was ridiculous. And so you had problems with that, and it didn't work. Same thing here, bringing in these characters that we know, younger versions of the characters that we know, and then not giving them enough to do, not giving them the scenes that made us like these characters. The only scene Silvio gets is by the car near the end before Dickie gets shot, where he has the conversation about the gifts or whatever, but he's still doing he's still doing that thing, which really kind of takes away some of the power of the scene, unfortunately. And again, nothing against these actors. They all, I think, tried to do a great job or did a great job.
But yeah, they don't have anything to work with. Yeah. They don't have a story to tell.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, this movie is a stain on the legacy of The Sopranos, and it poisons the well for future Sopranos content. Okay. The same way that Solo poisoned the well for so much Star Wars stuff, guys. Not that I hated Solo, because I didn't. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
But
I like Solo. Yeah.
Like, okay, so are you going like why? I just feel like after this, I don't know what they had planned. Are they going to tell, Tony Soprano's story in his 20s? And then Johnny Boy's still around. Like, I just don't know. Like, why else cast Jon Bernthal and stuff like that, unless you're planning to like sort of continue things. But again, you look at the box office, you look at the numbers that just came in on HBO Max. I would spend another $50 million on this.
I can't imagine spending that much money on another version of this for sure. And as people loving Michael Gandolfini, but I also think that he wasn't 100% Tony. And no, knocked in. The kid's never, this was his first thing he really acted in. So it's tough. And you're imitating your father. You're going to bring him back if you were to keep going with this? Are you going
to bring him back? The most iconic performance on television.
Yeah.
Right? It's so huge shoes to fill. And I do feel bad for him. And I thought he did an okay job, even if the younger Tony Soprano felt more like Tony Soprano.
Right.
The youngest version. But like, I don't think Michael's a terrible actor. I just don't think he fits this roller character all that much. Yeah. Like I saw him in Cherry. He was the best thing about Cherry.
Oh yeah, right, in Cherry. I forgot.
I thought he was the best thing about Cherry. No joke. Yeah. Okay. And that's another horrible movie. Yeah, so he's just off to a rough start. And but there was a lot of goodwill out there for him. Obviously, he lost his father young. Like it's terrible. I think the same thing will happen with Cooper Hoffman on Licorice Pizza. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt. you know, and he deserves it. But yeah, it is a lot to ask of these progenies.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Overall, I just felt like the film presented possible conflicts, but didn't resolve them in a way that felt satisfying, in a way that felt fleshed out, in a way that felt like it was nuanced or interesting, or left you with thinking or pondering about a lot of things. It felt like, again, it felt like a self-contained story. And if you're going to do that with The Sopranos, you've got to, with some of the incredible episodes we've watched The Sopranos, you got to really bring it, especially if it's been 14 years and you think this is worth a story worth telling.
Right.
You've got to bring
way
it.
too long.
Yeah.
It just felt like this didn't have to be a Soprano story. It just could have been a bunch of Italians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
To say, and I'm forgetting it now.
There's one more thing you wanted to say. All right.
I forgot what the hell it was.
One last thing here. Is there, do you see a path out of this? If they were to come back and do something else, is there a way that they could maybe redeem the movie in a way to make it work for a limited series? And like, if they were to announce a limited series, is there a way out of this thing? Or do you think this is just, it's, you know, it is what it is. Some people are going to like,
what would the limited series be?
That's what I mean. What would it be about?
A limited series, right? I don't think that they would do a sequel, right?
Right.
So it would be Tony in his 20s, and it's still, you know, Billy Magnuson and John McGar. Like, that would be the show.
Right.
And I don't want to see that. After this, I really don't care.
Yeah.
I know what I want to talk about. It was the narration.
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask you, did you like
narration? And like, I just, within 5 seconds of this movie starting, I knew that there was going to be a problem. When you're going through the cemetery and you're hearing all these people these dead people talking, I was just like, oh, this is the David Chase who came up with all those boring dream sequences in The Sopranos that we all like didn't love. I know the other thing that I want to talk about, besides the terrible narration, which is a huge red flag that you're watching a not very good movie.
Yeah.
I think I saw Alan Taylor, and he was like giving quotes about you know, what was real and what wasn't. Like, you know, like the baseball stuff, the baseball scene.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Real? Did that really happen? Alan Taylor asked. I'm like, no, that didn't happen. That is like very clear that is how Dickie maybe thought of himself. But there's not a question that did that or did that not happen.
No, I thought it was meant to reference what happens to Tony later when he has those dream sequences where he's like, you know, the center and the focus in his mind, and the heroic nature of certain things that he does in those dream sequences. I thought that's what that was. No way in hell did that actually happen?
The same thing he said with the prison scene with Leota #2, right?
Right.
He's like, you know, he goes into a bit of a trance, Dickie, while he's there, and then he looks up and there's nobody across the table from him, right?
Right.
So it's like, was he real? Was the second? Yes, he was real. Like, who else is this guy visiting in jail? He didn't just go into the jail and sit at an empty table.
Yeah, right.
Like, Alan Taylor, to me, after I read those two quotes, I was like, oh, this guy just doesn't know what movie he's making. Like, I wouldn't hire him for fucking anything besides another Sopranos episode.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be directing movies either, that guy, after those quotes. Whoa.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. Well, there you go. I liked hearing Michael Imperioli again. It was nice, but I wonder if that was a way of weaving in talking Sopranos. I wonder if that was a little bit of synergy.
It's a way because, Chris, we're making a Sopranos movie. Like, Chris is like, you can't make a Sopranos movie without me. Like,
I didn't get it.
Right. Like, I'll be the narrator, whatever you need. Like, it was just, here's a paycheck because we want to, you know, do right by you or whatever. Like, Edie Falco's gone on to other things. You know, the kids are sort of out of the business, but Imperioli's still like hanging around, and they just threw him a bone. Come on.
Yeah.
But that's how many people will be like, oh, it's nice to hear Christopher. Well, you know what? I'm glad you got a kick out of it, but that had nothing to do with the story.
Yeah. One last question. Did you like him holding the baby and him saying, you know, the woman saying, oh, babies sometimes know more when they come into the world? And he's like, you know, essentially inferring that Tony's going to kill Christopher later on in life. And did you like Junior making that comment about Tony and varsity sports? Didn't have the stuff to become a varsity player. Did you see that coming a mile away? It's like, oh my God, really? Are we going to bring this up?
I mean, the baby thing, it's faux Sopranos profundity.
Yeah.
And the varsity thing, I mean, that seemed pretty spot on. I don't think that Tony did have the discipline to be a varsity athlete.
Right.
So yeah, it was a fair criticism.
How about one last thing? How about I just remembered. How about the scene where he's being like the guidance counselor is saying he's leader, he's intelligent, smart. Yeah, that was actually a good scene. I like that scene.
Yes. Yeah,
that was really well done and gave us a little more in depth into why people followed Tony, why Tony was always smarter. And I was watching, as I said, seasons 5 and 6. Right. And there's that scene where he says, my IQ, it was tested at 146. It's tested. So he knows how smart he is. And so he knows he can think one step ahead of just about everybody, which is how he's able to stay alive through the whole series.
So I would have loved to have seen this story, whatever story they thought they were trying to tell here, through Tony's eyes. And that's not the perspective that David Chase chose. He chose the wrong one, and it brought the whole endeavor down.
Yeah. Well. All right, there you go. I think that's a good way to wrap up this section of the review here of the Many Saints of Newark. As we said, it's out in theaters, out on HBO Max right now for you to watch if you want to stay home. Jeff, overall rating? What do you if 1 to 5? What would you give it? 1 to 5?
I cannot operate on this kind of. This is not a scale, okay? Americans do 1 to 4. British people do 1 to 5.
Right. Well, I'm an Anglophile.
Give this movie a rating. I mean, 2 stars, 1.5 to 2 stars.
Okay, fair enough.
This wasn't even 2.5.
Yeah, in a 1 to 5, 2.5 for me. And I like Nat Soddy saying one way to think about this is where would this rank among Sopranos episodes? It would be in the bottom half for sure. Like Dickie Moltisanti, but the story was a lot of nothing. Yeah, agreed. It was a lot of nothing.
2 hours after we started it, the movie ended, and my whole family turned to me and said, "You picked another loser, Jeff." Like, if one person had been like, "You know what? That wasn't that bad," maybe I would have reconsidered things. But like, my entire family was like, "That sucked."
Yeah. There you go. And listen, I'd love it if we never did another mobster movie where the lead character drowns the poor young woman or kills her in some. I don't ever want to fucking see that again. We've seen it so many times. We don't need to see it. Or if you do it, you better damn well build it up correctly with all the facets and show everything involved in that relationship. So when it happens, there's a really powerful result to the end of him killing that woman. Because I just was watching that and I was like, this is it almost feels, I don't know, it almost felt like it was, for the joy of it, in which I really didn't like.
There was a little alarm or a studio exec saying, it's been about 20-25 minutes. Think we can kill somebody by now? Like, this is a Sopranos movie. We got to be violent.
Yeah.
And I know that is, sort of the most heavily debated scene, and whether she would have even confessed. Would she slept with Harold? Number one, I think that she would have. And number two, would she have confessed to it? Those points can be debated. But I didn't buy any of it anyways. So
yeah, agreed.
And buy Leslie Odom as a fucking gangster either.
Yeah, that was a little weird. Yeah.
Thought that guy should have won the Oscar last year for One Night in Miami. Thought he was amazing in that movie.
He should have won. Yeah, that's a good point.
It wasn't a fit whatsoever here.
All right, there you go. There, as I told you, you get our unfiltered takes on the Many Saints of Newark. Hope you enjoyed this review. We're going to take a beat, and then we're going to jump in to Tom Brady because Jeff's not going to be able to be on Game Time tonight, so I thought I'd give him a chance live to talk about his feelings. Tom Brady returning to New England last night. Successful return, but Jeff, this game was way closer than I expected it to be. And they were one doink away from Tom Brady losing with a Super Bowl winning team that returned almost all of its starters in New England against a rookie quarterback on a rainy night there in Foxborough. Talk to me about your feelings about Tom Brady coming back and about the game and the aftermath with that quick hug.
It was heavily discussed on the text thread with my high school guys. I mean, going into it, I was conflicted. I'm a Patriots fan, but Tom Brady is God. So who are you rooting for? Ultimately you root for the Patriots, but you're not upset if Tom plays well.
Right.
So a lot of emotions heading into the game. I wasn't expecting it to be nearly as close as it was. Like I couldn't even believe that we had a lead in the fourth quarter. Like I was proud of the Patriots and Belichick's plan, which was the whole like bend, don't break, defense. And I think that they played that game plan perfectly. I mean, Brady didn't have a touchdown, right?
Right. No,
like the GOAT comes into your stadium, knows your system, and knows Belichick super well, and you hold him to no touchdowns. I thought that was great. Mac played really well through all those completions. Like, what was it, like 19 completions or something in a row? It was something crazy. But yeah, we don't have a lot of firepower, and our biggest offensive weapon is out with James White.
Right.
Now, yeah, the Bucs were missing Gronk, but he's still got a bunch of other weapons on that offense. Am I mad that Belichick went for it in the fourth, or went for the field goal in the fourth quarter? Should he have gone for it on 4th and short? Right. It's tough without a runner that you can really rely on. I think Folk, has first of all, he's been super accurate. He made like the last 36 field goals in a row. Yes. 56 yards is a little far for him, particularly in the rain. But you know what? I didn't hate the call, and he almost made it. Like, he was just inches away with that hitting the crossbar. Sorry, the goalpost, whatever that was. What do they call it?
Oh yeah, the goalpost on the bottom there. Yeah,
the goalpost,
the crossbar. Yeah.
It was but it's not the crossbar. It's the one on the side. But are those called goalposts?
Side post. You want to say side post? What's going to make you happy? For God's sake.
Anyways, it was heartbreaking. But it was cool to see Brady set the record. I'm glad that he got to do that on his home field, in a sense.
Yes.
At Gillette, in front of fans who can appreciate it.
Right.
And then with the end with Belichick and everything, I think that and a lot has come out since that handshake. I think I was expecting nothing less, really. Like, Bill has never been a real hangout at half field kind of guy. Doesn't matter who it is. Yeah. I even said on the text thread with my buddies, like, I bet you off camera he goes into that locker room and they do it right. And according to Mike Reese, my old camp buddy at ESPN, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I think this was a draw. Honestly, I know right now Brady has a little bit of the lead because he won that Super Bowl with the Bucs. But if Belichick can turn Mac Jones into the second coming of Tom Brady, then we may be looking at Belichick winning this. Because, I mean, with he's lesser team.
Coming, though. I don't need him to be the second coming. I just need him to be good.
Yeah, if they win Super Bowls, how about that? I mean, if they win Super Bowls. Because right now, Belichick played him essentially to a draw. One, like, a few inches away from winning that game with a lesser team, a lesser quality team, lesser talented team.
Shocking upset. I mean,
yeah. So I think that's why you got to give credit to Belichick. But it was definitely between Brady and Belichick. I mean, they both know each other so well. They were just like playing chess the whole time in the game. You could tell, and he knew exactly how to diffuse Brady and almost got the job done. It's incredible.
Listen, Brady showers with fairy dust. Okay, this guy is super lucky, and so all the times that the Patriots over their 20-year dynasty, how many like breaks did we catch?
Yeah,
right? How many times the ball just happened to bounce our way? You can call that fate or luck, or you can call it Tom Brady. He's just a good luck charm, and that is what happened. Last night, where that little bit of fairy dust that he brings, sprinkles on his team, boom, it pays off.
Yeah. Well, what's your feeling now that it's happened and we're on the other side of it? What's your feeling overall about him going there and getting through this now? And where do you walk away from this game and feeling about the Tom Brady situation? And more than anything else, what do you think?
It's not going to be worse than it was like when he won the Super Bowl last year. When he won that Super Bowl, it was like, oh God, like, I mean, I was thrilled because I was rooting for him because he did prove that he is the greatest and it wasn't just Belichick. But at the same time, you're like, oh, like, why didn't we just hang on to this guy? Yeah. I mean, again, you work for one company, and as someone who's bounced around a lot, I can tell you work for one company long enough. I get it that you may want to change the scenery, and Bill wasn't willing to change or adapt. It sounds like he wasn't willing to treat Tom like a 40-year-old guy, right? In a locker room full of 20-year-olds. He wanted to treat him like everybody else. And I get that as a coach, and that's one way to do it. But yeah, it's like you're with the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, you think that there could be some special dispensations made or whatever it was. So, okay, Brady was tired of living under dad's thumb and in 18, or in this case, 20, 21 seasons, whatever it was, decided to move out of the house. He's won us so many championships. he's allowed. Like I had no problem with it. He's allowed to do whatever he wants. He gets a grace period.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the Patriots losing, they have a grace period. Like we won so many Super Bowls. Like I'm not trying to win the Super Bowl every year. Like there's going to be growing pains. Belichick pulled off a coup in the draft, getting Jones.
Yes,
and now there's going to be growing pains. You know, we're 1-3. I think that there's still plenty of time to come back, especially with the extra game this season. But like, yeah, it's going to hurt when you lose the greatest player of all time.
Right. What do we think about this hug? What do we think about this hug here?
Well, there it is. Okay.
That was pretty quick there, Jeff. What do we think about that?
Brady may have wanted to say a little something, but I think like Reese sort of reported, they had an arrangement that like win or lose, let's meet up in the locker room 20 minutes after the game, like whoever wins or loses. Right. And we'll actually, you know, now that this will be past us, we'll be able to have a real conversation. Like you don't want to do that in front of cameras. Right. I don't blame him. That's not the Belichick way.
Right. That's a good point because Josh McDaniels, right after Belichick, held up Brady for like 10 minutes talking to him into his ear. So that's McDaniels is different. He's an offensive coordinator. He's a different kind of guy than Belichick. Yeah. So
for sure. It was great to see all the Patriots come up to Brady and pay their respects and give him those hugs. And it's also like, you know, I don't think that players don't really make a habit of going into the other team's locker room, right? Right. So, but it's like Bill could. So he's like, all right, let Tom say hi to his friends and I'll talk to him after.
Right. Only Monty Williams does that in the NBA Finals when he goes into the Bucks locker room after they lost.
It didn't end well, did it?
Yeah, no. The uprights, that's what you were looking for. The uprights. That's what it was.
See?
The uprights. Thank you, Chris. Barry, thanks for giving us
I knew it was something. I was like, it's not the goalpost. That's like what a soccer player would call it.
All right, we do have one Streamlab that came through, so I'll read it now. It's from Haskell. Thank you, Haskell.
Guys, dig into the wallets. Let's go.
I know. Well, I mean, we got to wrap up. I don't know if
got to eat.
If I mean, if people want to stick around for the next week, that you can send in money if you want, but like, only one Streamlab so far. Haskell 420 says, my issue is this failed, and he's talking about the movie Many Saints, which we were talking about earlier. My issue is this failed at showing us this supposed legendary mob boss and figure he was built up to be over the run of the Sopranos series, which I loved and rewatched it before this came out. All we ever heard out of Tony's mouth and his crew for 6+ seasons was about this legendary figure who was powerful, feared and respected mob boss and saint, and nothing we saw in the movie showed us. But more importantly, Tony, be it in his actions in front of him or his crew, made him this so-called legend. Yeah, with Moltisanti, that's a fair point, right?
I just didn't feel like I felt like I was barely even watching the mob. No, I can't give this movie any compliments. It was bad.
I agree. You didn't see a true powerful. I mean, I thought Nivola did a nice. Obviously, I'm a little bit kinder on this one than Jeff is to Nivola, but like I felt like that was a good character. But they didn't like they made him like it was only just the deal with the girl, with the woman, that it made him like have these anger streaks come out because he worked with Harold. He wanted to, kind of figure it out with Harold. He protected Harold from the other. And then when Harold broke off and did his own thing, he didn't run after Harold and try to kill him. He didn't send guys. He went that one time because they were infringing on his property, or his territory, but then he never pursued it any further to go after Harold personally. It was so odd. And it just felt like a really weird situation in the end. And then having him go down the way he goes down because it's Junior calling a hit, because it just felt like such a lame way to end this. And it felt more like Tony was a puppy dog chasing around his owner than it was, a possibly sinister mob boss taking the lessons of Dickie Moltisanti and implementing them down the road in his life and in the show, as we were going to see. So, yeah. All right. That's it from us. We'll wrap it up there, Jeff. Thank you all so much for joining us here for this live, special impromptu live, the Many Saints of Newark spoiler review. Hope you enjoyed it. If you joined us just for the Tom Brady conversation, go back and watch the first half hour of the show. It is about the review there for the Many Saints of Newark. Jeff, thanks again, dude. Always appreciate you taking the time. Where can they find you and everything going on, man?
Insneider Plus on Twitter.
There you go. Behind the paywall. Get all his opinions and his thoughts, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, God. If you like the rants here.
That's for sure. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Take care of yourselves. You can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram, as you see there down below. Also, hit subscribe on this channel. We just crossed 18,200. Let's get to 19,000. Subscribe down below. Hit that bell button so you see when we're dropping all the new content. And don't forget, later today, 5 p.m. PT, going live with Game Time with Winston A. Marshall, and then JT popping in to talk his feelings about Tom Brady showing up in New England.
Bada bing, bada boom.
There you go. The reunion of the Patriots, maybe not together, but certainly on the channel on the same day. So we found a way around to make it happen. So there you go. All right, take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new review here from the Outlaw Nation. Peace.
Pinky promise.